All right, good evening and welcome to the How Can I Help My Child series. This series is a series that will happen usually at 8:30 a.m., but we had to shift it today from 8:30 to 7, and we had some network glitch, and we came live and had to go off. Welcome. My name is Mary Beth Chima, and today we're going to be talking about how you as a parent can help or support your child to hone the hobbies that they have and the interests that they have. How can I support my child to pursue their hobbies and interests? That is what we are going to be talking about today. I am super excited to be here with you today. My name is Mary Beth Chima, and I am the founder of the Parenting Through Mentorship Academy and PTM Resources. And yes, I am the proud matron of the Mastermind Circle, a pair mentorship and accountability group that we run for young children and preteen. We are sorry we had to move this session to 7 p.m. this evening because mommy duty called in the morning. All right, I had to be in school with my daughter. And of course, I had to be in school even before 8 a.m. So at 8:30, I was right in the middle of what we had to do. And so we moved the show to 7 p.m. so that we don't get to miss the show altogether. All right. So the How Can I Help My Child series is a series that we put together to come and have short conversations on issues of parenting, especially when it comes to our young children and our preteens. We want to equip parents and answer the questions that parents are constantly asking about how they can support their children. So the questions you hear us ask here are the questions that parents have put forward, parents have asked us over the years, okay, over the months, yes. Right? Because I work with parents, I work with parents of young children and preteens. I get these questions every time. The Mastermind Circle, we work with children between ages 6 and 14. So you see the bracket, the age bracket of the children that we are talking about. But hey, if you have a child who is a toddler, all right, you're a parent of a toddler, you can be here too, because as I always say, you don't go to war on the day of war. You go to war before the day of war. You go to war before the day of war. All right, so that you know how to war because your arsenal is tight. All right, so welcome to the show. One second, please. This is the third, and then, of course, yesterday show Friday. Yes, it's a workshop time. So this episode, we tell you it's talents and identifying the things that they enjoy on those, that they cannot be overemphasized. That we want to ensure as parents that we support them maximally in this area. Because I love to say all the time that education will give your child a springboard. It is the skill that our children have that will set them apart. It is the skill, the opportunities that they've had, the doors that have been opened to them, right? Yes, the doors that have been opened to them, the opportunities that they have. It is the skills that they have and how they harness those skills that will help them excel in this area. So it is not network. So it's raining here, and I think this might affect the network. I hope it doesn't. All right. I hope it doesn't, but it's raining here, and I'm hoping it doesn't affect the network. network, because I can see from my other device that it's a bit blur. I mean, it's a all right. I can see from my other device that it's a bit shaky. The network is a bit shaky. I hope it's not a challenge. All right, so we're just going to go right into it. Let's just dive right into it so that we're not wasting time. I'm hoping and I'm praying that the network is not bad and the network allows us to have a nice session, basically. All right, so yes, so let's jump into it. So every child needs that visionary parent, that is willing, or visionary parent or caregiver in their life that is willing to be an advantage to the child. Being an advantage to your child means that by virtue of the fact that you are in this child's life, there are certain things that happen or certain things that come to the child that the child will know down the line that you know something. It is because this person is my parent, because I was blessed to have this person in my life as my parent. This is why I was able to do this, or this is why I was able to achieve this, or this is why I was able, to get to this phase or this stage in my life, right? So you want to be that parent that you being the life of your child becomes such a blessing that that singular fact that you were there present in their life will open doors, and open them to an aspect of their life, right? That, they will forever be grateful for, right? We want to ensure that we are the ones that position our children to live a life that allows them to fulfill, the purpose for which God has created them. You want to be that parent that they will always be thankful for. I mean, a good example of a parent who positioned themselves like this in the life of their child is that their father had seen how someone did excellently well, in tennis, and how their lives, basically the trajectory of their life, he could visualize how the trajectory of the life of his children can be changed by these simple sports. And then he made it a point, right, that he would ensure that he gives his children the advantage within his power to get a life that will be rewarding through sports and through tennis, as a matter of fact. So what we are saying is every child is blessed to have us as parents. Every child is blessed to have us as caregivers. Every child is blessed to have you, perhaps, as a mentor or as a teacher. But even more is the blessing if we can become advantages to the children, if we can position ourselves to be so visionary that because of what we know, because of what we do, and because of what we apply, or how we guide and support these children, they're able to get to that place in their lives that they can live their full potential. This is our hope and our dream for every child. And this is what we are hoping, that when you join this show, and then when you listen to the advice and the strategies, and all that we bring here, the tools that we share here, when you listen to it and you listen to the recommendations that we have, we are hoping and we're praying that you're able to take these things that we say to you for the sake of your children, for the sake of the children that you love and care for. And for that reason, you become an advantage and a blessing to your children. So we have looked at many things that we can do to position ourselves to support our children, to harness the interest that they have, the hobbies that they have, and build skills out of these hobbies and interests. I'm not going to go back into to start discussing all of those things because they are right here. All right. So I'm going to be sharing a playlist of all the episodes. So we've had episode 1 to 7, and we even have some of those episodes with part 1, part 2. For instance, this is part 3 of this episode. I think we have another episode that has 2 parts. Now you want to start going through. They're short videos, 30 minutes, some of them a little longer than 30, but we are hoping that by next week we would have settled down on this, I mean, in this show, that we can make our show as short as 20 minutes and 30 minutes tops, because it is intentional. It is intentional that we want to come in here and take a topic and deal with it for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and of course, leave a mark so that we can get, in that space where we can start doing something. It's a morning show. So we want it not to be cumbersome. We want it to be a show that you can watch on your way to work, that you can listen to and you watch as you're settling down in the office, that you can watch, for just a few minutes, and you get yourself in that space. We want to remind you to get yourself in that space every day. We want to remind you to be intentional about your journey every day, because we believe in consistency. In the mastermind circle where we work with young children, consistency is one of our biggest strategy, because we understand the power of consistency. So I want to do the same thing with you. All right, bring you to that space where we become your buddies, and we're reminding you constantly, your accountability partner, if you like, reminding you every day that there is a need. Sorry, what did I just do? Reminding you every day that there is a need, right, to do something about your parenting every day. Yes, this is it. And we're hoping that you can join us on this show every morning at 6:30 a.m. Sorry, 8:30 a.m. So we've talked about so many things so far. You can catch that in part 1 and part 2. Part 3 today, we're going to be looking at how you can care for your children. All right, I used acronyms in the last few days. So today we're going to use the acronym CARE to, suggest things that you can do to help your child, or to position your child, right, to begin to pay attention to their skills, to hurry to the pattern talents that they have, to the gifts that they have, to the hobbies that they have, and the interests that they have, so that we can grow this, or we can hone this into skills that can make our children productive and valuable, all right, in the solutions that they create, or in the services that they can give out. So, care. The first thing you want to do, all right, is you want to collaborate. You want to collaborate. If you want to work with your child, you want to support your child to be able to turn those hobbies, into skills, then you need to learn how to collaborate. Who are the people that you're going to be collaborating with? Who are your collaborators? So as a parent, the moment you identify, you have watched the pattern in that child, you have been present enough to observe the child, and you have watched the pattern, and you can see for sure that these are the things that my child loves to do, that he or she does better than the average person, he or she loves and enjoys doing, such that you do not have to compel them. They are into these things. Now, what do? You look for people, okay? You look for people that you can work with to help your child, right, in this area. You look for people that you can work with to help your child begin to coach, to help your child begin to train and build their muscles in this area. So who are this kind of people? First is their teacher. You want to pay attention to whoever is working with your child as their teacher. I love to say this to parents all the time. The teacher is that person that's going to have your child's ears and your child's heart as much as you do, probably, okay? As much as you do, or okay? And so for that 1 year your child is going to be working with their teacher, you want to be friends, not friends in the sense like you become buddies, but you want to collaborate. You want to form a partnership between you and the teacher. So you want your child's teacher to know what is going on in your child's life as much as as possible. You want to be able to say to them, oh, she loves to do this, or she's doing that, she has these skills. If you get into that kind of partnership and collaboration with the teacher, what you realize is the teacher also becomes interested, okay, because the teacher feels like, I know this child, in an extra way. That way, you will see that the teacher is also encouraging, working, and believing in the child as much as you do. I'll tell you what I do, or what we do with our children at the beginning of the school year. At the beginning of a school session, and we get the mastermind kids to do the same thing. Okay, this is part of why we start the mastermind circle in September, because we want them to start that new milestone, with their new teacher in their new class, and then with the mastermind. We want to grow, we want to work with the children to grow throughout that school year. So the first thing we do at the beginning, when usually we will start a few days before school begins in September, except for the kids in America, in North America, okay, in America basically, who would have started school in August. All right. So what we do is we get the children to write to their teachers before they meet their teachers. So yes, the mastermind kids have done this for a long time. We get the mastermind kids to also do this. So we get them to write letters to their new teachers. So you don't know who your teacher is. You just go ahead and write a letter to your new teacher. What they do is they just write, an open letter. Dear teacher, dear, no name, because you really do not know who your new teacher is a lot of the times. But in that letter, they get to introduce themselves to their teacher. They get to share with their teacher what it is that they love and all of that. I remember one year, my daughter had been, okay, the year my daughter was homeschooled, we had homeschooled her for 2 years, and she was going back to regular school. So what we did, when she was going back to regular school, is we got her to write a letter to her new teacher. So she wrote a letter to her new teacher. It was so heartwarming. She wrote that letter by herself. She told the new teacher what she loves, how she loves to learn. Remember, she was homeschooled, and so at this time she was aware of who she was, how she learned. So when we were homeschooling, of course, it's not regular school, so there's a lot that goes in there. All right. So, but then again, we are all homeschooling. I hope you know that you are a partial homeschooler if you are intentional as a parent. All right. So, in your partial homeschool, get to that point where your children become aware of themselves. Let them know how they learn. Okay, as you're watching their pattern, know how they learn, know how they learn, what they love, So my daughter wrote to her teacher, telling her teacher, I don't like to write for too long. I like to write and I like to take breaks. She wrote so much. I love to write books. I love to write stories and to tell stories. So she wrote so much in that letter. It was a whole full page, I think she was excited too. So you will find that the kids are excited. Even our 14-year-old son is almost 15, right? Even our 14-year-old son, you will see him excited every time he has to write a letter to his new teacher. That whole anticipation, who is the person, and all of that, all put together. And so they write and then, introduce themselves, what they love, their hobbies, their interests, and all of that. So our son will even go ahead and tell, I remember his last letter, he even went ahead and told his teacher what his weaknesses are, right? I remember one of our meetings with the teacher, she actually went ahead and said, oh yeah, he actually mentioned to me in the first letter that, he's struggling with being organized, but it's something that he's working on, and all of that. So what you have done is you have given that teacher a hand of friendship, right? The teacher would, when your teacher relates, the teacher anticipates meeting that child. So sometimes I would go ahead and I would drop, for my daughter, I went ahead when I went to pick uniforms and all of that, I dropped the letter with her teacher. Even that year for our son, I actually asked for who their homeroom teachers were, and I dropped the letter for them even before they met our children. So what happens on the first day of school for this kind of teacher, and the child is usually good afternoon, my ad. Oh, you are there. Oh, so first of all, there is a connection. You help the child connect with the teacher at once, right? Because the teacher has, had a preview of who this child is, and all of that. So this is how you begin to foster partnership and relationship right from the beginning. And of course, you are there. I hope you go to your children's school with them on the first day of school. I can never miss the first day of school and I will meet your teacher. I can't drop you off and walk away. I will meet your teacher on the first day of school, right? So that day we get to shake hands, we got to hug, and I get to tell you how I am here, willing always to support you. So if you need me, all right, if you need me for anything, please reach out and all of that. So that's you preparing the ground for collaboration and partnership. So you want to be like that, so that while you are working with your child, the teacher is on the same page with you. That's how we raise wholesome children, making sure that we are all in sync. You, the teacher, the coach, everyone who is a quote and unquote stakeholder in the life of the child is in sync. It creates stability, it creates continuity, and of course, it encourages the child. So your teacher knows what you are about, what you do, the things you do extra outside schoolwork. Your teacher talks about it with you, so it's easy for the child to go to school and say to the teacher, oh, I did this or I achieved this, and it's easy. That conversation flows. Children need as many, people in their lives who are encouraging and supporting them. All right. So yes, you want to do that. Now, the next one is you want to assist. You want to assist the child. As your child is growing in their skills and in their talents, okay, they're building their skills, basically, you want to make sure that when they need help and when they need support, you have a system where they can reach out to you, where they can call out to you to assist them. All right. So what I do with the children is when our children start anything new, I partner with them. Basically, I become your partner or your body in whatever it is that you are doing. All right. So when our son started running a business selling juices, what we did is I became his staff. Right. So automatically I became his partner in that business, So he would do the selling. I will never sell for you. All right. So he does the selling because he's building skills. He's learning how to market. He's learning how to sell. All right. So he does all of the selling at the time. All right. After a while, I was doing the production at the beginning. We were doing the production together right from the beginning. And then after a while, we got someone to start doing production because, yes, he had the hang of it. So meaning if the person wasn't around, he can get into there and do his business for himself. But hey, he's got school and he's got other things to do. So when the person we employ to help with that, is around, he doesn't have to do production, right? As the CEO, you don't necessarily have to be a part of every part of this small bit of the process. All right. So they need to start understanding this and how it works even in real life. So as far as the process of his business goes, he knows everything that goes on and he can do every aspect of it. So he will peel the oranges, he will squash the oranges, he will bottle them, he will seal them up, and all of that. He could do all of those things for all the variants of the fruits that he sold right at the time. Now, when this person came, the person took over all of this. Now she will produce, and all of that. Now, but he was still in charge. He was still in charge of, making sure that, he took account of how much she has done. He was the one who requested for new products, right? He was the one that made the request for new supplies when we're getting low. So he needs to do that. He was the one that took stock of his product to, find out what was left, what was taken, and all of that. But I did the accounts. All right. So I did the accounts for him because we do not want any of the things that the children do to become such a burden. And at the time, he was just 9. So for 3 years, for 2 years, right? 3 years in that business, I was doing the accounts for 3 years from when he was 9. It was only when he became about 12 that he started doing the accounts in the business. Even at that, it still took some time before he got the hang of it. He by himself would actually he by himself would actually create the Excel sheets, okay, because he's got skills in that area. So he will create the Excel sheet, he will do everything. But when it comes to remembering to impute, and make sure that all of the products are accounted for and all of that, now he begins to, drag his feet because, hey, he's still a child and it's a skill that he doesn't have the hang of yet and he has to grow in it. So I kept on doing it while I was, bringing him, in here and there, holding him accountable, sometimes, giving him consequences for not doing it. Until, I got to a point I was speaking to my coach. I was speaking to my coach and my mentor, and she said to me, one day, she said, something, you can actually do all of this that part of the account so that it doesn't become a burden. And I'm saying this for those of you who have children who are already venturing into businesses and things like this. All right, you want to make sure that the pressure level is zero. What you want to do is you want to help the child grow from a place of a motivation or zero motivation or external motivation to the point of intrinsic motivation where the child can motivate themselves 100%. Now, the thing you won't want to do is you do not want to make it a pressure, or you don't want to put so much pressure and make it a burden. When you put pressure and you make it a burden, it becomes difficult for the child to own it and for the child to love it for it. Okay, it becomes difficult for the child to become motivated. I have said this formula over and over again. If you want children to build their self-motivation in any area, you need to introduce that activity with a sense of satisfaction. So activity plus a sense of satisfaction will lead towards motivation. So with her, now, I said in this show, I will tell you even the mistakes that I have made, right? So that you can use that and run with it. So if you have a child who is learning something, you have a child who is building, an interest or building an area, right? Or a hobby or something that they are good at. And you can already see that the child is getting really good in that area. Okay, it could be sports, it could be music, it could be anything at all. It could be entrepreneurship like our son. It could be in the IT world and all of that. What you want to do is you want to try as much as possible while you are stretching them, and giving them, raising the bar. You want to make sure that you do not make it become a thing of pressure. You do not make it become something that becomes a burden to the child, because when it does, then the child is just doing it to appease you. The child is just doing it being dragged. The child is not doing it because the child has a sense of satisfaction, in it. So without knowing it, that is your child's childhood that you are just dragging all over the place. So you want to make sure that it is all about the child, 100% about the child. So at first, you have pointed them to these things, okay, and you're supporting them all the way. So it gets to a point, passion will begin to come in. As the passion comes in, then you know that the child is moving on the spectrum from no motivation or low motivation to the point where the child is determined, or the child begins to motivate themselves by themselves. A point will come where the child becomes passionate and fully motivated or self-motivated, and you do not have any business with the child doing what they have to do. At this point, the child has owned it. At this point, it is all about the child, and the child is in that place where the child wants to excel, the child wants to win, the child wants to be, become, right, as much as you hope for them to be. So this is what happens when you see the Ronaldos and the Messis and the Usain Bolts of this world. People who want the win as much. What's that her name? What's the Nigerian lady? All right, that is doing great feats in track and track, and all of that. So it gets to that point where the child wants it as much as you want it, or the athletes wants it as much as you want it, or the business. I mean, it's like Mark Zuckerberg when he was going about Facebook. That had nothing to do with his parents anymore. It had absolutely zero to do with his parents. That was him, his passion, his self-motivation, and all of that. Now, but at the time, his father had to get him a computer teacher, isn't it? The China had to get him a computer teacher when they noticed that, he liked tinkering with computers and creating stuff and all of that. I'm sure at some point, maybe when he was playing, he was probably playing as a child with his friends, and all of that. Someone had to remind him, you need to go, your coach is around. At some point, someone would have to tell him, you need to leave what you're doing. At some point, he probably was not happy to sit down, for a coaching session because he was busy with other things. Right now, that's the point where it is still externally motivated. And gradually, while you support them, taking out the pressure from it and making it about, the child and, you supporting the child, gradually a sense of satisfaction will come because there is little or no pressure. And with time, the child becomes passionate about this. Now, this is how you help children hone their talents, okay, or hone the gifts or the interest that they have into talent, and then moving that talent to the point where the child becomes passionate, all right, and mastery kicks in. When passion is involved, mastery kicks in, excellence kick in. All of the ingredients that you need for the child to be exceptional at that thing begin to kick in at that point where the child is personally or self motivated. The next thing is you want to reinforce whatever it is that the child has learned. Care, reinforce, yes. So whatever it is that the child has learned, in school, with their coaches, wherever it is that they have learned, whatever they've learned, when they come back home, you want to make sure that you are reinforcing this in your conversations. You are reinforcing this in when you drive around, you see something that points to their interest, you want to, start conversation that reinforces. You want to create opportunities. You want to create experiences that constantly helping them reinforce. Sometimes parents will take their children, for sports parents, they'll take their children, travel, all the way to Europe, or travel all the way to wherever there's a youth tournament, or sometimes you just take them for a summer camp, away from home, whatever it is. You are just reinforcing what it is that they have an interest or a passion for, or where they have, right, an interest, or they're building a skill in. So you want to reinforce, you create opportunity, you take them to another city, you drive them to somewhere far, you don't just look for opportunities and programs where they can leverage, right, to continue to grow in that skill. Some people will want to take them to venture into international competitions, venture into that for the experience, so that they can compare, where they are at, or they can see where they stand in the big scheme of things as global citizens with that skill. So this is important, so that we're not raising local champions. Sometimes we have children, and our children are just good in our own eyes, and we're just there clapping hands, but we've not put them apart with that child in China, that child in Japan, that child, right, in India. They say your competitor is not the boy that is sitting next to you in your classroom. Your competitor is that child in China that has all the resources that he needs. That child is in India that has all the resources that he needs. So this is important, so that we're not raising local champions, because we are raising global citizens. All right. So finally, you want to keep encouraging and encouraging and encouraging and encouraging. You can never get enough of the encouragements. When they fail, you want to be there to embrace them, to hug them, and tell them it's part of it. Growing entails that you fail forward. You want to remind them that you need to fail to know that there is more to do. You want to remind them that you failed because the skills that you need to excel are not locked in yet. So what does it mean? It means there is more to learn. There is more to learn. So you need to keep telling them and encouraging them and being with them and supporting them. All right, if you want them to begin to hone their hobbies and their interests into skills, right, that can make them productive. All righty. So that's it. We have come to the end of this show, of this episode, basically, where we have been talking about how you can help your child begin to hone the skills, how you can help your child who has got certain talents, who has got certain All right, so sorry about that. So sorry about that. We had some network glitch there. All right, we've come to the end of the show anyway. So we talked about the mastermind circle. If you want your child to be a part of the mastermind circle, that they should be. If you have children 5 years and 7 months, they can join us in the mastermind circle. Okay, if you have a 5 year and 7 month old child, then we are ready to take them, start building their foundation in the mastermind circle. You have children that age up to 14, then they can be a part of what we do in the mastermind circle. And all that we're sharing with you here makes up part of the curriculum in the mastermind circle. So bring your child for that collaboration and partnership that you need to position your children to live their full potential. If you would want to be a part of this, right on my screen, you will see scrolling right on my screen the information that you need to to register your child, to book a slot for your child to be a part of the mastermind. You can book a slot for just 5,000 naira, and you can pay off over the next few months until September 1st, when we start the new cohort. Guess what? The mastermind is affordable. It's just less than 6,000 naira every month. Yes, you got to pay about 6,000, less than 6,000 every month for the mastermind circle, meaning you get to pay 70,000 for an entire year. I've told the story for the longest how our son was going to do BCE, and was struggling with Hausa, and he said, get me a Hausa tutor that can work with me for 1 week. We scout food when the children are having troubles. We bring in someone that will help them understand the concepts, and when they've gotten the hang of it, we're like, thank you very much, and all of that, because we want them to build their learning, the skill, the ability to learn on their own. All right. The Hausa teacher was going to charge me 35,000 naira for 4 days, 35 grand for 4 days. And so we say, come to the mastermind for 70,000 naira for an entire year. Affordable or not? Very affordable. All right, so go ahead and register in the mastermind circle. We can't wait to work with your children. Thank you for joining the show for today. I'll see you on Monday morning at 8:30 when we come live again with a new episode of the How Can I Help My Child series. Have a fantastic weekend. Thank God it's Friday. All right, I love Fridays. Bye.